All right, what's going on, everybody? Goofy Rexy here, and hope everybody's doing well. Wanted to talk about this topic here today, and it is the problem with OP teams and why no team in Marvel Strike Force is no longer skippable. And this was really prompted by a Reddit post that I saw. I usually don't go on Reddit too much. Sometimes it can be a little too toxic, but every now and again I'm able to find some gems or some good posts here that kind of spark a little bit of thought. And I was reading this today that I thought was pretty interesting. And this is from Flip Collar. And his title was "A Mistake That Should Have Been Avoided." And let's talk about what he talked about here. So when the Secret Avengers teams was released, I read a lot of posts and discussions suggesting that they were skippable. In the past, I've seen this label applied to characters like She-Hulk, Shadowland, and X-Force because they were simply war-based characters. And it's not necessary to farm every single war team hard that comes around. I agree with that premise mostly, but for Secret Avengers I saw something different. The argument was that they're super strong, but you don't need them because we already have raid characters that can scrape by in skill nodes. They just make the nodes much easier. That was very strange to me because in the past teams like Symbiotes and X-Men have been considered must-haves for exactly the same reason. We were already getting through the raids available to us with previous characters, but these teams made the top raids infinitely easier. And he goes on to talk about here about why never skipping a raid team. If a team feels skippable for almost any reason, you can reliably count on them being necessary for a legendary unlock. And of course, that's kind of true, right? Pimtech, we've seen X-Force, X-Factor, a few different teams. Now we're seeing Secret Avengers are kind of getting that same treatment. And of course, never ever skip a team that's too powerful. That's probably pretty self-explanatory, but I had a couple of thoughts here towards that. And the first one I wanted to talk about really is kind of just what OP, when you're creating these OP teams, right? And I think that's kind of part of the issue here when it comes to talking about the subject of a team not being skippable or teams or characters not being skippable. The problem that I'm seeing right now in Marvel Strike Force is that when you kind of start to create now these massively OP teams, what typically tends to happen is that in order for you to then beat that OP team, you then have to create another OP team in order for you to beat that OP team. Now we saw this with Heroes for Hire, right? Heroes for Hire is this war defense team. Later on, we found out that Misty Knight, Colleen Wing, Shang-Chi, now being introduced here or recently introduced, is an answer or characters that you can use for gamma rays. Prior to that, you could even get away with Misty Knight, Colleen, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist as well in those nodes, and you could ultimately do quite fine in the gamma raid section. But in order to be able to beat Heroes for Hire, you then had to create Infinity Watch to beat them, which is now the best team in Marvel Strike Force, the best team in the game. They're running the arena shard. They're good in every single game mode. They're good in raids. Well, you can't really use them in Doom raids together, but a lot of those individual characters are good in raids. I'm using Nebula. I'm using Gamora in Doom raids. I used to use Moondragon in Doom raids. I can every now and again I'll swap out and I'll use Adam Warlock in Doom raids. Every single character can be used in the Lavelle can be used in Doom raids as well with the symbiotes as an option to replace Venom. We're seeing that that when you create these OP teams, you have to then create another OP team in order to be able to beat that OP team. And then that creates, of course, a problem with the team not being skippable, right? Of course, Infinity Watch, now we just saw introduced this new team here, the Weapon X team, and Omega Red looks dynamite. And if all you need is just other complementary pieces for that team to be absolutely dynamic. And both of those teams are currently now the teams that you need to use in order to be able to counter Heroes for Hire reliably. Yes, you can use Silver Surfer, Kestrel, and some other comps here to beat Heroes for Hire in war, but your better bet is to go with Infinity Watch and Weapon X. That's probably most likely going to give you the most guaranteed opportunity to win. I would also like to point out that it looks like Infinity Watch may also be able to be beaten by Weapon X. So once again, you're kind of creating this dynamic of OP teams on top of OP teams, OP characters. We didn't even talk about Kestrel and Silver Surfer and all that as well. You also have that little conundrum that's going on there too. Also like to point out that both of the counters to Heroes for Hire also feature legendary teams. That's a whole separate problem within itself. We won't even go there, and we won't even talk about that. But that's really kind of what's creating this whole teams not being skippable thing, right? And the second thing I wanted to talk about, when you're talking about these OP teams, what typically tends to happen is that you kind of started to create this massive imbalance in the game where you have these old characters, including some legendary characters now, right? So I will say this: Ebony Maw, Phoenix, with Omega Red being introduced, with the new Warriors team being introduced, Ebony Maw, Phoenix, they're kind of maybe not as relevant anymore. Now, they're still good characters. If you invest into them, they're not bad investments. They're still gonna get a lot of content done for you in this game. But when you're looking at the game perspective, when you look at the perspective of the game, and when it comes to you having resources available, right? You are trying to use your resources wisely. Maybe not investing directly into Ebony Maw, or maybe not prioritizing Ebony Maw, maybe not prioritizing Phoenix is probably a direction to go. And I'm just talking about examples of characters. There's other characters in the game too, that of course you're probably gonna want to not prioritize those older characters now with these new characters coming out. But the issue where it comes to that imbalance is that for the earlier game, for players who weren't around for those character releases, then there is this there's this missing out thing, right? And the only way for you to essentially be able to catch up is by spending money. And suggestions for beginner teams become a little bit more challenging because, hey, if you weren't here for New Warriors, which by the way is a team now that you could probably use to defeat the Heroes Chapter 7 content where you need Hero City characters. New Warriors are Hero City characters. Shadowland is actually now a good replacement there too, as the Hero City options that you have available, since the symbiotes or a lot of the symbiote characters like AV, Symbiote, Spider-Man are really kind of unreliable for you to be able to get them. You know, now Shadowland could kind of take that place, but you kind of get the point, right? It creates this massive imbalance where, you know, the only access that some earlier players will get are to older characters and not necessarily to some of these newer characters that are being introduced, or definitely not probably the full new on team that's going to be introduced as well, unless you are going to fork out money and then put it into your pockets. And then now, or fork out money out of your pockets. And now let's talk about skippable teams, right? Now I want to make this statement. When we talk about skippable teams, I don't think anybody's saying, hey, don't get these characters. Yes, get the characters. We've seen this already. X-Force or X-Factor, need them to unlock a legendary team. We've seen now Secret Avengers needed to unlock a legendary character, not legendary team, but legendary character. You need them in order to unlock a legendary character. So I don't think that anybody is saying that a team is skippable. When they say team or characters are skippable, that you should just not work on the character or not get the characters. I think what they're saying is that you should probably not max them right out of the gate when to get them. But it's starting to kind of see, if you're in the end game right now, and if you haven't invested into Secret Avengers, you're kind of putting yourself a little bit behind, because they are the Doom skill rate option. You guarantee that they're going to be the Doom 2 skill rate option. New Warriors are most likely going to be the Doom 2 skill rate option, right? And of course, you can guarantee without a shadow of a doubt that we have a tech team and we have a bio team coming. So really, when you look at the entirety of it, there really are no more skippable teams in Marvel Strike Force. I cannot name a team that in reality has been skippable over the last few releases. And I think that is sort of okay, but not when they're all so OP, right? I think it would be stupid for us to expect that Scopely is going to introduce a team that is a skippable team. That wouldn't make any sense. But maybe don't release the teams as quickly as you do. Maybe fix some of your bugs first before you decide to introduce these new teams. But let's not digress. That's a separate problem. That's a separate problem for a different time, right? But I do think that there is a issue when all these new teams have become so OP that you need to create new OP teams in order to be able to beat those older OP teams. I think that creates a little bit of a problem here in Marvel Strike Force. And then that does bring up the question of, hey, is this team skippable because I don't have the resources necessary to invest into this new team, because I just literally had to invest into the old team in order to be, or older teams in order to be able to get the content done. And it kind of just feels bad that now I have to go and invest into this whole new OP team. And of course, that creates that FOMO. That creates probably what exactly Scopely wants from you overall. But these are just my thoughts. Yeah, are there any skippable teams in Marvel Strike Force anymore? Nah. Nah, there's really no more skippable teams in Marvel Strike Force. And if you think the team is skippable, they're most likely going to end up being a legendary unlock. So you really got to be careful where that's concerned. And most of these new teams, these new characters now, they over and they supersede, what these older characters can do. And this is just kind of the way that things are going right now in Marvel Strike Force. But curious to hear your thoughts, guys, on what we just talked about here, what I just talked about in this video. I just thought this was a really, really interesting post by Flip Collar. This was really good information. Also wanted to share this meme. As we were talking about on stream, somebody shared this meme in the chat. Shout out to Scout who shared this meme. I thought this was hilarious. Scopely putting legendary requirements in the war store. You can almost guarantee, and already that one of these characters that you're going to need, one of these Secret Avenger characters, are probably most likely going to end up in the war store. I know, Goofy, don't say that. No, don't do it. Then you're going to give them ideas. If you think that they're not already thinking it, then you have done lost your mind. Listen, appreciate you guys watching the video. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so already. Check my links down below, my Discord, my Patreon link, another way to support the channel here. Amazon coins if you're looking to save some money on your Marvel Strike Force in-game purchases. Then take a look at that down below as well. Join my Discord if I haven't already said that. Follow me on Twitch. All those beautiful things there. But appreciate you guys so very much. Y'all be blessed and y'all be safe. Woo! For damn sure they're gonna put a character in the war store. Are we kidding ourselves right now? They're not gonna put a character in the war store. Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a rude awakening.